Hello there, and welcome to the Black Quill. Come in, make yourself comfortable. Perhaps a cup of tea, a strong coffee, or even a glass of wine is in order. Go ahead, I'll wait. Once you're settled, draw your blanket a little tighter and dim the lights. Because tonight, we delve into the shadows where nightmares are born, and whispered stories come alive. Tonight's story: The House in the Woods. I remember that night well. It was a dark and stormy evening, the kind where the rain pelts down so hard you can barely see past your windshield wipers. I was driving through a dense forest, miles from anywhere, when my car decided it had had enough. The engine sputtered, coughed, and died, leaving me stranded in the middle of nowhere. Now, I'm not one to panic easily, but as I sat there, watching the rain cascade down my windows, I couldn't help but feel a creeping sense of unease. I tried my phone, of course, but out here in the sticks, it was about as useful as a chocolate teapot. No signal, no hope. That's when I saw it. Through the curtain of rain, perched atop a hill like some brooding sentinel, was an old two-story house. It was the kind of place that looked like it had seen better days, about a century ago. But beggars can't be choosers, right? So, I grabbed my flashlight, took a deep breath, and stepped out into the downpour. The walk up to the house was like something out of a gothic novel. The wind howled through the trees, branches creaking and groaning like old bones. Every step I took squelched in the mud, and I swear I could feel eyes watching me from the darkness. As I approached the house, the details came into sharper focus, and let me tell you, it didn't improve with proximity. The paint was peeling, the windows were grimy, and the porch sagged like it was exhausted from holding up the weight of its own history. I climbed the creaky steps, my heart pounding in my chest, and knocked on the door. No answer. I knocked again, louder this time. Still nothing. The door, as if sensing my desperation, creaked open on its own. Now, I know what you're thinking. Any sane person would have turned tail and run back to their car. But have you ever been so cold and wet that even a haunted house seems inviting? Yeah, that was me. I stepped inside, calling out a tentative hello. The interior was like stepping back in time. Dusty furniture, faded wallpaper, and the unmistakable smell of decay. My flashlight beam danced across the room, casting eerie shadows that seemed to move when I wasn't looking directly at them. I found myself drawn upstairs, hoping to find a phone or, well, I'm not sure what I was hoping to find. Each step groaned under my weight, as if the house itself was protesting my presence. That's when I heard it, a low, guttural growl from downstairs. My blood ran cold. I froze, one foot hovering above the next step, straining my ears. There it was again, louder this time, accompanied by the sound of something heavy dragging across the floor. Whatever it was coming up the stairs. Panic seized me. I scrambled up the remaining steps, my eyes darting wildly for a place to hide. I dove into the nearest room, closing the door as quietly as I could behind me. My breath came in short, sharp gasps as I pressed my ear against the wood, listening. The growling grew louder, closer. I could hear it sniffing, searching. My heart was pounding so hard I was sure it would give me away. Then, mercifully, the sounds began to fade. It was moving away, further down the hall. I allowed myself a moment of relief, but it was short-lived. As I turned around to survey the room, I heard something shift behind what looked to be a closet door on the far wall. As I stood there, frozen with fear, I listened as whatever was behind that door began shaking and banging like it was trying to escape a trap of some sort. It sounded like a wet bag being sloshed and banged about with something horrible inside. I stifled a scream, stumbling backward. The thing in the closet seemed to respond to my every step with louder and louder bangs, followed by a high-pitched garbled sound, somewhere between a giggle and a whimper, that still haunts my dreams to this very day. I bolted from the room, no longer caring about stealth. The hallway stretched before me, impossibly long and distorted. Doors lined either side, and as I ran past, they began to open. From each one, a new horror emerged. What appeared to be corpses standing in the dark doorways, breathing so loud and raspy that I could not only hear them, but smell their decaying breaths. As I ran, they began twitching and shaking, moaning and wailing. I don't know how long I ran, or how many nightmarish things I saw. It was like every fear, every dark thought I'd ever had come to life in this house. Finally, I found myself in what must have been an attic. The window. It was my only chance. I didn't hesitate. I threw myself at the glass, feeling it shatter around me as I fell through the air. The ground rushed up to meet me, and pain shot through my ankle as I landed, but I didn't have time to dwell on it. I looked up, back at the window I'd just jumped from, and something was there. Dark, dreadful. I could feel its hatred and malice, even though I could see nothing but its darkness, its absence of light. I have never felt terror like that before or since. I ran like I've never run before. The woods were a blur around me, branches whipping at my face, roots trying to trip me, but nothing could stop me, because behind me, I could hear it, the sound of something crashing through the underbrush, gaining on me with every second. I thought I could feel its hands, or claws, or whatever it may have been, just barely touching the hairs on the back of my neck, as if one slip up and it would have me forever. The terror was all-consuming. Every breath burned in my lungs. Every step sent shockwaves of pain through my injured ankle, but I didn't dare stop. I could feel its hot breath on the back of my neck, hear its claws tearing up the earth behind me. Finally, miraculously, I saw my car. I threw myself inside, locking the doors and curling up on the floor. The thing, whatever it was, circled the car. I could hear its claws scraping against the metal, its heavy breathing fogging up the windows. I stayed there, trembling, certain that at any moment it would break through and devour me. But it didn't. As the first rays of dawn began to peek through the trees, the sounds faded away. I stayed where I was, too terrified to move, until I heard the sound of an approaching vehicle. It was another driver, concerned by the sight of my car on the side of the road. He called a tow truck for me, and as we waited, I babbled about the house, the horrors I'd seen. But he just looked at me strangely. "There's no house up there," he said. "Never has been." The tow truck driver said the same thing when he arrived. They both looked at me with a mixture of concern and suspicion, clearly thinking I'd hit my head or something. But I know what I saw, I know what I experienced, and every time I close my eyes, I can still see that thing in the attic window, still hear its growl, still feel the terror of that night. Ever since then, I never drive through wooded areas at night anymore. And maybe, just maybe, you shouldn't either, because you never know what might be waiting for you in the darkness. Because sometimes, the things that go bump in the night, they're all too real. And so, our journey into the shadows comes to an end, for now, but the stories never truly stop. They linger, waiting for the right moment to find you again. If you enjoyed tonight's tale, do remember to subscribe, leave a comment, and share it with those who dare to tread the darker paths. Until next time, keep your lights low, your blankets tight, and your mind open to the mysteries of the unknown. This has been The Black Quill. Farewell for now.